The rational root theorem doesn't tell us what any roots are, but it helps us narrow down possible rational roots. So the theorem says, if I have a polynomial with integer coefficients, and this is important, so if you have a fraction in there, you're going to need to factor it out. There are a limited number of possible roots such that p of x is equal to 0. If you have an integer root, it's got to be a factor of a sub naught. This is your last term, your constant term. So if I'm going to have an integer root of this polynomial, it has to be one of the factors of 10. Well, what are the factors of 10? Well, plus or minus 1 is always 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 5, and plus or minus 10. These are the only possible integer roots. Now you'll notice I'm not saying it is. All I'm saying is possible. Now suppose I am looking at rational roots. Rational roots are of the form p over q. So they're the ratio of two integers. So the only possible rational roots you can have are the factors of a naught divided by the factors of your leading term. So the factors of 10 divided by the factors, in this case, of 21. So my rational roots will have to be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 10, divided by plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 7, and plus or minus 21. So the only possible rational roots we're going to have is, let's see, I've already got my integer roots, so let me do the ones that don't have the plus or minus 1 there. So plus or minus 1/3, plus or minus 2/3, plus or minus 5/3, plus or minus 10/3, plus or minus, so that took care of the thirds, let's do the sevenths, 1/7, plus or minus 2/7, plus or minus 5/7, plus or minus 10/7. Now let's do the 21s, plus or minus 1 over 21, plus or minus 2 over 21, plus or minus 5 over 21, plus or minus 10 over 21. Now this seems like a lot of possible roots, and it is. But trust me, it has narrowed it down from the infinite number it was before we started. So let's look at this polynomial right here. What are the possible integer roots? The possible integer roots are the factors of 5, so it's plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 5. Possible rational will be the factors of 5 divided by the factors of 2. So plus or minus 1, plus or minus 5, divided by plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2. Okay? So to write these out, this is plus or minus 1, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 1/2, plus or minus 5/2. So these are the only rational roots we can have. I do want to point out we can have irrational and complex, and we'll deal with those later. Let's do one more. Suppose I have 15x cubed minus 3x squared plus 3x plus 2. What are the only possible rational roots? Well, it's going to be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, those are the factors of 2, divided by the factors of 15. Plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 15. Now you notice I'm totally ignoring everything that happens in the middle. So the possible roots are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 1/3, plus or minus 1/5, plus or minus 1/15, plus or minus 2/3, plus or minus 2/5, and plus or minus 2/15.